Did you know that 60% of leaders fail to achieve their strategic goals? That's a staggering number. In today's fast-paced world, leadership is more than just having a title. It's about understanding the game you're in and the rules that come with it. Many leaders think they're playing chess when, in reality, they're stuck in a game of checkers. The truth is, most leaders don't even realize the complexities of the environment they operate in. According to a study from McKinsey, companies with poor leadership can lose up to 50% of their productivity. Imagine the wasted potential. But don't worry, you're not alone in this. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden dynamics of effective leadership. You'll discover the invisible rules that govern team dynamics, the power of emotional intelligence, and the critical importance of company culture. We'll also explore the delicate balance between control and trust. So, are you ready to level up your leadership game? Let's dive in and transform how you lead. Chapter 1. The invisible rules of leadership. What you don't know is holding you back. Most leaders think success is about numbers, but there's an entire layer they miss: the invisible rules. These rules aren't written down, yet they govern how teams work, how power shifts, and even who gets promoted. Many leaders don't even realize they're playing by these unspoken guidelines. In fact, according to a study by the Harvard Business Review, 58% of employees trust strangers more than their own bosses. Why? Because leaders often neglect the unseen elements of trust, respect, and influence. If you don't understand these dynamics, you're missing out on a key part of leadership. One way to tap into this is by focusing on relationship currency. Leaders who invest in building real, human connections within their team often outperform those who stick strictly to tasks. Remember what John C. Maxwell once said: leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. The invisible rules also include cultural nuances. Every workplace has its own rhythm. Leaders who ignore this or try to impose their own style fail to get results. For example, a 2019 McKinsey study found that leaders who adapt to their organization's culture are 4 times more likely to succeed than those who don't. So, next time you walk into a room, think beyond your agenda and start observing the unwritten dynamics. In summary, mastering these invisible rules can change how people see you as a leader. Influence isn't just about what you do, it's about how well you play the game beneath the surface. Chapter 2. The hidden players. Power beyond titles. Why authority isn't always in the corner office. Too many leaders get caught up in titles and hierarchy. But here's the truth. The people who hold real power often don't have the biggest titles. Think of the office admin who knows all the gossip, or the senior staff member who's been around forever. These hidden players can either help you or undermine you, depending on how you engage with them. An interesting fact from Sloan Management Review shows that in highly collaborative companies, up to 50% of team decisions are driven by informal leaders. These are the people others look up to, but they don't always have the fancy title. They're the ones who sway opinions in meetings, build alliances, and guide the team's direction from behind the scenes. How do you spot these hidden players? Look for the ones others turn to for advice. Pay attention to who talks the most after meetings end. Even body language can be a giveaway. Those who stay quiet during discussions might be more powerful than you think. They're often gathering insights and shaping the narrative later. Here's a tip. Build alliances with these people. A quick coffee chat or a casual conversation can go a long way. And don't just talk business, find out what matters to them. By valuing their perspective, you create a powerful ally who can boost your influence. Remember, Simon Sinek once said, leadership is not about being in charge. It's about caring for those in your charge. That includes these hidden players. You can't lead effectively if you're only focused on formal authority. Power flows in unexpected ways, and real leaders know how to tap into it. Chapter 3. The strategy blind spot. Are you playing chess or just moving pieces? Most leaders think they're strategists, but many are just moving pieces around without seeing the whole board. This blind spot can cripple long-term success. Strategy isn't just about hitting targets, it's about thinking 5 steps ahead. A Bain & Company survey found that 80% of executives believe their company's strategy is poorly communicated, and worse, often misunderstood by employees. Leaders can get stuck in the weeds, making short-term decisions without a bigger picture in mind. This is where the chess analogy comes in. Are you simply reacting to every move, or do you see the endgame? Here's a common blind spot: confirmation bias. Leaders often seek out information that supports their current beliefs, which clouds judgment. Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman talks about this in his book Thinking, Fast and Slow. He argues that people are hardwired to avoid data that challenges their worldview. Great leaders avoid this trap by regularly questioning their assumptions. Another critical issue is adaptability. A 2019 PwC study revealed that 70% of businesses fail due to poor strategic decisions when facing market changes. Leaders must recognize when it's time to pivot. Kodak is a classic example. They clung to film while the digital world took over, missing their opportunity to stay relevant. To avoid these blind spots, leaders should build diverse teams with varied perspectives. This creates an environment where ideas are challenged and better strategies emerge. And always ask yourself, am I reacting to today's issues, or am I preparing for tomorrow's opportunities? In conclusion, strategy is about playing chess, not checkers. If you're only focused on the next move, you're already behind. If you're finding this content valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more insights on effective leadership. Chapter 4. The EQ versus IQ Leadership Dilemma. Why emotional intelligence is the missing link. Most leaders assume that high IQ is enough to lead effectively, but they're missing out on the real game changer: emotional intelligence, EQ. You might be great at solving problems, but if you can't connect with people on an emotional level, you're leaving a huge gap in your leadership. EQ is about understanding your emotions and the emotions of others. Daniel Goleman, the psychologist who popularized the concept, argues that EQ is twice as important as IQ when it comes to leadership success. This is because people are motivated by how they feel, not just what they know. In fact, a TalentSmart study found that 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence. Leaders with strong EQ can navigate team dynamics, handle conflict, and inspire loyalty. Meanwhile, those who rely only on their intellectual abilities often struggle to get buy-in or build strong relationships. Here's a simple strategy: start with empathy. Learn to actively listen, not just to respond, but to understand. When you show people that you care about their feelings and concerns, they're more likely to follow you. Empathy builds trust, and trust is the foundation of effective leadership. Self-awareness is another key part of EQ. Great leaders are aware of their strengths and weaknesses and are open to feedback. Brené Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability, says, "Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen." In leadership, being open about your own limitations can actually make you more relatable and respected. In summary, EQ is not soft or secondary. It's the secret ingredient that turns a good leader into a great one. If you focus only on IQ, you're missing half the game. Chapter 5. Culture. The silent architect of success. The game changer. Most leaders overlook culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's an old saying, but it's never been more true. No matter how good your strategy is, if your company's culture doesn't support it, you're fighting a losing battle. Peter Drucker knew this back in the 20th century, and yet, many leaders still don't get it. A Deloitte study found that companies with a strong, healthy culture are 3 times more likely to be high performers. Why? Because culture shapes how people behave when no one is watching. It's the unspoken code that drives daily decisions, actions, and attitudes. One major mistake leaders make is thinking they can install a culture. Culture isn't something you can just dictate. It's built through daily actions, values, and how leadership behaves. For instance, if you preach collaboration but your leadership team is constantly competing with each other, the message falls flat. Here's a strategic tip: lead by example. Employees take cues from their leaders. If you want a culture of transparency, start by being transparent yourself. If you want a culture of innovation, Be the first to take risks and encourage others to do the same. Culture is caught, not taught. Another important element is recognition. People want to feel valued for their contributions, not just for hitting targets. According to a Gallup survey, employees who feel recognized are 4 times more likely to be engaged in their work. So, build a culture where praise is frequent, specific, and meaningful. In short, culture is the engine of success. As a leader, your job is to nurture and protect it. If you overlook culture, you're missing the most powerful tool in your leadership toolkit. If you enjoyed this video and found these insights helpful, be sure to subscribe for more tips and strategies on becoming an exceptional leader.